So I'm going to create a Unit 5 in here. Unit 5 project. Hopefully it doesn't crash like last time. Let's try again. New project, Unit 5. Okay, I'm going to follow the same convention, I guess. Well, create a package Unit 5, I'm going to put GTC. Unit 5 GTC. Just so that I, organize my file. Not in the root directory. This is always in the root directory. And if you don't use a package, sometimes you run into issues because they might overlap, or you have a conflict with other classes. So you usually put into a package. Okay, so I'm going to create a class in here, and just call it the main. Again, just main program here with the main method. So we can get this started. All right. So we'll do the simple one first. This is just the if block. This one here has no else. Okay. That means you just want to check one thing and see if that is true. If it is, then run it. Otherwise, you just ignore it. Okay. So, for example, I only care about whether you pass the class or not. If you pass, then good. If otherwise, I don't care. Right? That's the condition. Whether you are healthy or not. Right? If you're healthy, then for example, if you go to the military, if you are healthy, then or you pass the exam, then you can join. Otherwise, you don't. There's no other way, right? There's no other way to join, for example. Then you can ignore the else part. It's called that condition. If you care about the else part, then we'll do that with the if else. So the syntax for that is if followed by a pair of parentheses. You put that condition inside that parentheses. So this part treats it like a function. So anything inside a parentheses is always like a function, right? So if that is true, then we put a pair of curly braces here. Then execute the code inside here if it's true. Okay, so our condition will be whatever you want to test. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is just test the numbers, just to get this started. You can test numbers like constant numbers in here if you want. These are just expressions. Again, because it's a parentheses, it's always treated like an expression, like a function expression. So that means I can say if 1 equals 1, okay, if that's true, right? 1 is equal to 1. If that is true, then go ahead and execute what's in here. And inside here, I'm just going to put a message to the console. Say equal. Okay. And that's all I care about. If it's not equal, then I can ignore the rest. Right? This is just the if block. And so if you run this, it should be true, and you should get the equal message printed on the console like you see here. Okay. If you make this not equal, so one way to make it not equal is to put 2, right? And that should be not equal, so nothing gets printed because I don't care about when they're not equal. Another way to make it not equal is you put 1 equal to 1, but instead of equal, you put the exclamation mark. This is the not symbol, right? Remember? The not symbol? Not means not equal. So if you read it, it's like not equal. Right? So it's not equal. So 1 is not equal to 1. If that is true, then print this. So in this case, it doesn't print anything because that is false. 1 is equal to 1. Okay? So back to 1 equal 1. That is true. Okay. So that's what happened. I had this problem in the past. Uh-oh. Let me start this. I have a problem with my Eclipse. So you can change that condition to make it so that it's the reverse, which is the not symbol, right? You can say 1 equals 1, and then you not it so that it's false. Let's see if this error is resolved. Otherwise, I have a problem here. Okay, so equal, that's true. Now, to use the not symbol, you will have to wrap this condition here, because this will evaluate to true. And if you want to take the reverse of that, which is false, then you put the not in front, but then you have to wrap that condition inside there, right? So that means this is true, and then I not it, so now it's false. Because it's false, it's not going to print anything down here, okay? Because the whole thing is false. But that's what the not symbol means. You put the not in front of the expression, and then it will reverse that condition. Now be very careful when you do this. This is a common mistake sometimes because you type too fast and you forget, because you always terminate is a statement with a semicolon, and I've seen people do this. Sometimes you put here and you accidentally put a semicolon here, okay, between that if condition. And let me just take this out so it's not confusing. Okay, so if you happen to do that, what do you think is going to happen? 1 equals 1 is true, and then it's going to say equal, right? So in this case, it's going to print equal, which you see here on the right side. Okay, what about if I put 1 equals 2, save that, and then I put it is equal here. If I run it, it's still going to say it's equal. Okay, so be very careful, because this shouldn't happen, right? You shouldn't print that message because 1 does not equal 2. And because of this semicolon here, it terminates the if block. So this is the same thing as saying this. So this is a completely independent statement, right? Nothing has to do with the if block. The if ends up there. And it's completely legal because of this block structure in Java and also C# and JavaScript. Okay, so main languages use this. Some languages don't allow, like Visual Basic, you can't do it. But because of this legality, if you put a semicolon there, you'll get an error. And if you were to, spread your code like this, you can see it because this is legal. If it's true, print something. There's nothing to print, so it will just ignore it. If it's not true, it doesn't matter. And this just means it's a local block within the program here. It's going to run anyway. Okay, so be very careful. This way you can tell, but if you had it like this, you can't tell, which is why some people like to put the color brace in the front. Okay, to prevent them from catching that kind of error. And I showed you, like way back in chapter 1, the first week, showed you like a different methods of aligning your code, writing your code. Okay, lots of different ways, but some people like it this way. Me, I just like it this way. Okay, so you have your own style, but as a programmer, eventually you have to conform to a certain pattern that you usually are good at, you like. So stick with one. Okay, one that you really like. So that way you can debug your code easier, and it's always consistent, and so on. So be careful with that. And also in the curly brace here, you can't put a, I don't think you can you? I guess it doesn't matter. I thought you can't put a colon there. Yeah, it should be fine. It's not required, but some languages don't let you do it. Alright, so that's the if block. Now, the else block is if you care about the false condition. Again, this is always the truth part, even though the value could be evaluated to false. If the value is false, it doesn't matter. This is going to be it's going to run anyway, because this is always the truth part, right? It doesn't mean the result has to be true only. It doesn't have to be, as long as it makes sense, as long as the operator here makes sense. If I say 1 equals 1, yeah, that's true. If 1 is equal to 2, no, it's not true. But if I not it, it's now true, right? Or if I say if 1 is not equal to 1 to 2, then yeah, that's true, right? So as long as that statement makes sense, it will run these statements here. And if you care about the other side, the else, if 1 equals 2 is true, then go ahead. Otherwise, run the other one. Then you put the else block down here. So we have the two branches out of the diamond shape, right? The left and the right. And then this part you have to take care of. You can say system out not equal, just to print that out, and then you're done with that. Okay, so this is the if and else block. And in this case, it should say not equal for the result. Okay. Now, in terms of commenting your code, notice I put it here. I can put it here. I can put it inside here. Okay. I can put it above, after here, and inside here. Okay. Because you can do like that, right? And then you can put comment here. So you can see that you can make your code like this. You can put comments anywhere you want. And sometimes you do that because you say you want to check something here. You can say if 1 is equal to, right, itself. You can select that. If it's true, then go ahead and process that. Here you say otherwise. So you put your notes this way. Otherwise, it's not equal to itself, right? So that you know your code later on. You put comments here, and then when you read it, you know exactly what's happening inside that block of code, or what you're checking for. Okay, I'm just making it really simple here, but when you check some code in here, you have some very complex variable objects like the sandwich, right? You can say if the sandwich has a filling of type egg, right, then go ahead and process that. Otherwise, it doesn't have a filling. So you can comments there even after that as well, and I think that should be good. Yeah. Okay. So comment your code. We call this comment, or the correct term is document your code. Okay. So a programmer, as you get better, you should always document your code. Explain what's going on. If there's something really simple like this, you don't need to. But if you're doing some type of really complex calculation in there, and just 1 or 2 lines or sentences really help you yourself or other programmers to understand what's going on in that piece of code. And so you don't have to spend 30 minutes or an hour to decipher what it means in there. So comment your code, especially functions. Okay, so this is the if and else. And then if you want to check if 1 is equal to 2, then if 1 equals 1, then you run here. So I'm going to change this to actual variables because this doesn't make sense. So we're going to go up here and put a integer. I'll just put like an n1 equals to 1, and then do another one, n2 equals 5. Okay, so you can do that as well. You can declare in a single line like that. As long as you assign the values, and then they're all the same type, and they're all integers, then you can do that. So just separate each one with a comma, and then that should be good. If you do like n3, right, this one has no value, which is still legal. Again, that means all have to be integer. So then we can say up here, we can read the input. So I'm going to do a scanner. The input, if you remember the scanner, right? To read data from the user. And then we need to import the scanner class. So just mouse over it, import the util. And that should import it up here for us. And we're going to read a number into the n3, and we'll do some comparison. So now I'm going to remove these comments because it makes my code look really ugly. So I will put a message here. Enter a number. The print line. So we're going to read that into the n3. It's going to be input dot next int, right? Here, I'm not checking anything here. Like you asked earlier, how do you validate that? Make sure it's only an integer number. If you don't enter an integer number, it will fail, right? So later you'll learn to validate that. So read a number into n3, and then I'll compare n1 with n3. So if n1 is equal to, not itself, but to n3, right? Put n1. Then you put a message here. N1 equals n3. Okay. Else, if that is not true, then you check if n2. So that means L is not equal. This is very simple, right? We didn't care about the other ones. We just check if n1 and 3 are equal or not. And if you save this, you run it, then it only checks for n1 and n3, the one that is inputted by the user, which is yourself. And so I'm going to go ahead and run this and ask for a number. I'm going to type in 3. It's going to fail, right? So it's not equal because n1 is 1 and 3 is 3. Run again. If I enter 1, then now they're equal. So now n3 is equal to n1. Okay, so it just won all the others. And then let's just say, okay, if it's not equal to n1, then does it equal n2? So now you would, instead of saying the else part here, you can have another else if in between. So in here, you can say else, check the second condition if n2 equals n3. If that is true, then print something in here. So this is the else if you check the second condition. So n3 has to be equal to one of the other ones or not at all, right? So I'll put here SOUT, control spacebar, shortcut, N2 equals N3. So now I have two conditions to test. The third one, I don't care. It's going to be the one that has, it's the catch-all. It's not equal to both of the others. So now if I enter 1, it's equal to N1. If I put 5 equals N2, and then the other one, if I put 2, then it's none. Okay, so you have two conditions to test, and then your result. So in this case, because you're putting all this, you chain all this together. Either this is true, or this is true, or this, right? So you read it that way. If that is true, or this, or that. So one of those has to be true. It must be one of those, right? Because of the else part. That means only one of those block of statements will execute. Okay? And you only test one of those conditions. If you test the first part, it's almost like the short circuit way, right? So if you test the first part, if it's true, then go in there and the rest will be ignored. Okay? If this is not true, skip that and then go to the second one, test that part in that order, from top to bottom. If this is true, then run that, done. Skips the rest of the code and the block. If both of those are not true, then go ahead and run the last part because it's the else part. I don't care about the condition. It's always going to be the last part to run anyway. So I have three block of code here. So that means only one, when I run this, only one of these will execute, which is good. Okay, you want to code like this. You don't want to check every single condition because you're wasting CPU time. Okay, I could do that, right? So what I meant was, if you took up the else part, you could say like this. If you break into, so usually you do like 3 parts, right? If and well, let's just and let's see, and 3 and 1. This is redundant, and 1 is not equal to n3. Okay, that's 1. I'm going to make this to a compound condition. For example, if you do this, check that part. If it's not equal to 3, and 2 is also not equal to n3. So making a compound condition, if that is true, oops, missing one part here. So I have three if statements in here. And this one here works exactly like what I had earlier. The only thing is that now this is not short circuit. That means it will test every of these cases. Right? This case. It's going to run here if it's true, print that. Then it's going to run here if it's true, print that. And runs here if it's true, print that. If none are true, then it will ignore. Okay. And only in this example, only one of those will run. Right? Should be true. So if you let's see that's true. Save it, print it, run it. If I put 1, then I should get 1, and it goes 3 goes 1. And as you can see, both all the other if statements don't run. If I put in 5, then it should be the second one, right? And if I put anything else besides 1 and 5, I put 3, then none. But the output doesn't tell you everything what's happening inside the code. Okay, when I type in 3, it's going to test this part, false, okay, exit out. Test this part is false, exits out. And the test this is true, so run that. Okay, when I run and when I test a 1, so 1 comes in, this is true, runs that. it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. So, I mean, there's no point of checking this 2 anymore because they're going to be false anyway, right? There's no point. If you do that, then it's going to run anyway. You don't see it, but it runs, checks the background anyway. This is already false. It checks that, runs, checks that, and then your output will be just this line. So this is considered bad practice because you're wasting CPU time. Okay. What you do is you would say, combine this with the else if, right? Else if that is true, and then else. If you do that, if you want to do that, this is okay, but it's redundant because I don't need to check this anymore. If the other two are not true, then it has to be the third one, right? So therefore, this is completely ignored. I don't need this, which is why I don't need that else if block anymore. So this way, back to what I had earlier, you check only one spot, and if it's true, then run it. Otherwise, skip it. So now your computer runs only one time instead of 3 times, checking that 3 times. Okay. So for a good practice, this is how you should do it.